Hey guys, welcome back to World of Tanks with Hachiman. This is part one of a three-part review of the American Tier 10 tank destroyer, the T110E4, and of course this is one of two American Tier 10 tank destroyers. The T110E4 is turreted, the T110E3 is not. The T110E3 is a pure assault gun tank. It has over 300 millimeters frontal armor, a big 155 millimeter gun. It's not that fast. You're just meant to drive it at the enemy, let them shoot at you, and put the hurting on them. The T110E4 is a little different. This is kind of a strange machine on paper, but I find I really enjoy playing it. And it's probably my only Tier 10 tank I've ever had that I've enjoyed playing. What you've got here is you've got the chassis, basically, of the T110E5 American Tier 10 Heavy with 254 frontal hull armor. Okay, which this is not the target to shoot at because the upper plate's 254, the lower plate is not 254, but it's angled extremely and it's bulged outwards so that so many of your shots will deflect down into the dirt. You will penetrate that, but it's not as easy as it looks. Your target is the frontal turret at 203 millimeters, but really it's just here and here. This gun mantlet, you're not going through it. Not unless you have a T110E4 firing premium ammo. Pretty much everything else is just not going through this gun mantlet. And the cheeks, you've got to hit it right here, right next to the gun mantlet. You get it off to the side, and it's going to skate backwards and miss. And then the top, many people shoot at this machine gun turret because it's a well-known weak point on, say, the T110E5 Tier 10 Heavy. But it's not really a viable target on the T110E4. For whatever reason, most shots aimed at that turret either get just a critical hit, miss, or bounce off. I've gotten steel wall with this tank, even though the armor ratings are not that impressive for Tier 10, but they're good enough. They are good enough, and you'll see it block a few shots here or there in some of the gameplay you see. The like all American tanks, you want to go for the side. 76 on the hull, 152 on the turret. No Tier 10, even Tier 8 tank should have any trouble penning this. Rear turret is 152. Again, no trouble penning. I don't know why you would shoot at the rear turret. Honestly, the hull is only 38 millimeters, and there you get your chances of knocking out engines, getting fires, stuff like that. The T110E4's turret gives it some flexibility. Well, hold on. Let me go back to that in a second. Talk about maneuverability for a minute. 35 kph top speed, which makes it a contender with most heavy tanks, maybe slightly slower. 26 degree traverse speed, again, acceptable. What this means is this armor combined with that maneuverability, you can play this tank as a heavy when necessary, and you will see me do it in the replays that you're going to see after this. It gives this tank the ability to either play as a frontline heavy on rare occasion, a second line heavy very easily, and a support sniper when it needs to, though the gun has a few accuracy issues. And we'll talk about the gun in a moment. The turret on this tank is not a full turret, and that's the biggest weakness of the T110E5. The turret is 180 degrees from left to right. It cannot turn to here, it cannot turn to here, it cannot turn to here. So that's the weakness. Fast medium tanks, and even some fast heavies, will be able to flank this tank. They will be able to, the combined traverse speed on turret and hull is 44 degrees per second. The turret does not turn fast. If you are coming around the corner to take a shot at someone, you will need the turret pre-aimed when you do so, and you will again see that in the replays as well. It's very important to understand that fact. Now, the gun. Oh, the gun. Oh, the gun. 155 millimeter anti-tank gun T110E4, 155 millimeter caliber, 3.08 rate of fire. Yes, that is almost 20 seconds for a reload. Whew. 295 millimeters of penetration on standard ammo, 375 on premium ammunition. Wow. There's not a tank in the game from just about any angle that this tank will not penetrate the front of. I can't put it any other way. I mean, if you shoot at the upper plate of a mouse and he's angled 30 degrees, yes, there's a good chance that's going to bounce off, but it's a mouse, for God's sakes. If you're shooting at the upper plate, you don't understand that tank too well. Any flat surface of any tank, this shot's going through, period. It's just amazing. 750 alpha damage on both the regular and premium ammo. The HE ammunition gets 1100 average damage. Penetration's 90, so that's a soft target attack. There is nothing more satisfying than doing 1100 damage because you hit the shield of a Waffenträger Alpha 100, for example. And in one of the replays, you'll see I had an HE shell loaded, and I caught the side of an E100 and still hit him for 4. So the HE ammunition will always get you some amount of damage, but you really want to reserve that for those soft tank destroyer targets like tanks. I one-shotted an M41 Walker Bulldog with an HE shell on Himmelsdorf once. So, you know, you need your ammo selection is very, 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 very important on this tank because you've got such a long reload time. You have to know exactly what shell you're going to need which. And now, if you're not in that position, one good thing about this tank is it has 2 loaders. You need safe stowage on one, always. Okay? I've got Adrenaline Rush. On one guy, I've got safe stowage firefighting, and he's working on intuition. My other has Adrenaline Rush, intuition, and repairs. Intuition is important because, and you'll see it, I did it once in one of the replays, I decided to switch from, I think from APCR to HE, and he just in mid-load, and he just switched over. When you have such a long reload time, intuition can be very helpful that way. Adrenaline Rush is also extremely important because get low on hit points, getting a 10% boost to that reload time makes a big difference. 100% to 100% loaders, rammer and vents gets the reload time on this gun down to 16.45 16.45 seconds. So the net effect is I can get off about 3.75 rounds per minute at 750 average damage. Just quick math, that's somewhere around 2700 DPM. That's very respectable overall. It's not in the 3000s, but again, this tank is kind of an odd hybrid between tank destroyer and heavy tank. Other words about the gun: 0.37 dispersion, pretty decent. Not quite TD sniper level, but good enough, and a decent aiming time at 2.9. You should know this tank has minimal gun depression, which makes it an oddity among American tanks. -6 degrees, it's still better than a lot of Soviet tanks. However, you have to be careful of that. Make sure you plan your route in such a way that you don't have to crest hills to take shots at enemy tanks. You're better off going around the hills. You can point upwards easily enough. Pointing downward is a little hard. Anyway, that's it. On the replays, you're going to see... I think you're going to see why I find this tank to be so much fun. I really do find it to be a fine machine. Like the video, subscribe for more, and you will see parts 2 and 3 gameplay coming up soon. Thanks, guys.